Good evening. Our topic for tonight is implementing change flagging and change tracking for Dita. Okay. Our mission is we're here to increase our customers' profitability, and our qualitative advantage is that we're here from the beginning all the way to the end of your processes. Here is a list of some of our clients and partners. Okay. And our topics for tonight, we'll start with an overview of filtering, just how the Ditaval file works. We'll go on to implementing flagging and then implementing change tracking, because some of that is involved with the same as flagging. Okay. Filtering and flagging are both called by using a Ditaval file. So first you have to provide the Ditaval file. So if you're using Ant, if you're making your own Ant build files, then you'll add a line param name dita.input.val file, and then the val is the path to your Ditaval file. In Java, if you're using the Java command line, then the parameter is /filter : and then the name of your Ditaval file. Why would you filter? Filtering allows you to publish a subset of the documentation. And so you have documentation, you want to reuse it, you want a single source. You have documentation for a wide range of products or customers, and you want to filter only for that product or for that audience. You want to say, I want only to view something for product A, or I want to print it only an admin guide or a user guide, or a guide only for Windows or something only for Linux. Okay. You can also specialize the props attribute, and those are also available for conditionalizing. By default, all topics and elements are included. The Ditaval file says which elements to exclude. You can also put in a default for specific properties. So you can say the default for a property and say this property is always exclude, and these are the exceptions. They're going to be the only ones to include. It's within an attribute. It's this or this or this, and it's an and between attributes. So it's and product and audience. So we'll go into how that works. Okay. So here we have our first example is a step is assigned to product A and product B. So as long as we don't exclude either of them, we only say exclude product B, so it's going to stay there. So we have to say it gets included as long as one or the other is still included. So when we're doing in the sample file down here, we have product A is included. So we've already included it. If we do product A is excluded and product B is excluded, so neither of them are included, so it would get dropped. In our next example, we have product A and product B. Let's say an audience is admin. So now if we filter on admin, we want to do a user guide for product A. So this line, it's relative to product A, but it's not relative to admin audience equals user, and it will get dropped. So you have to basically an element gets included as long as one attribute value, they're separated by spaces, one attribute value in an attribute is included. But if you have more than one conditional attribute, something from each one of them must be included in order for the element to stay within the output. Okay. Our next topic is implementing flagging. Dita allows you to flag different parts of the document. The same attributes you can use to filter on, plus the addition of the rev attribute. You might want to filter on which revision a document is for. You can flag it also. You can add colors and change bars, styles to your document, text, maybe text or graphic to set off text to say, okay, to draw the user's attention to say, this piece of information is only for this revision, this product, this user. Okay. Here's an example of a Ditaval file for flagging, and we're going to come back to it in the subsequent slides. The subsequent slides will show us how show us what the data source looks like and what the output is. And this is the Ditaval file that we're using to produce that output. Okay. So you see here we have style conflict. We have a prop with a bunch of attributes and some children. We have another prop for a different attribute and a couple of rev props for different revisions. Okay. The prop element in the Ditaval file is flagging on a specific property, not revision. The revision is something separate, but this is for all the other ones. So we have ATT attribute is the name of the attribute you want to filter: product, audience, platform, other props, or any other specialized conditional attributes you may have. Value, the value of the attribute. You want to say platform attribute equals this platform, and value equals XP. Action, exclude and include are for filtering. Flag is to do something with the flag. It's to add color, style, some images to it, or to pass through to preserve this attribute so that it doesn't get pulled out of the information. Normally, the DIT will just strip the attributes. It has no need for it later on. You could do pass through to keep it in the information. It'll stay a lot further down the processing, and you can add your own processing for it. Color is the font color that you're going to be using. Style, we have a list of possible styles to change it. You might want to change a specific piece of information. Anything that applies to admin to be italics or bold, you could choose one. It's a one. You could choose one. You can't choose more than one. And back color is if you want it to be highlighted with a background color. RevProp has most of the same similar attributes. It does not have an ATT. This is assumed to be revision. It defaults to revision. You can't filter on a revision. You can only flag on a revision. Okay. It has the additional attribute called change bar, which allows you to add change bars to a specific revision, and it'll add change bars like you might be used to in FrameMaker on the side of the document. So the change bars, you have multiple choices about how you want it to look like. You can choose the color, you can choose the offset, how far away is it from the text, placement, where in relation to the text is it, what the style of it is going to be, what type of line it is. If you look at it carefully, you recognize that those are the values that are available for like table borders, and the width of the line itself. So because this is actually one attribute and you have to put all of this in, we've implemented it that you concatenate everything as if it's an HTML style attribute. So you basically have the name of the attribute that you want to style it, colon the value, and semicolon the next attribute and the next value, and so on and so forth. Okay. Style conflict allows us to mark a piece of information, an element, if it has two attributes on the two flagging methods collide on the same content element. If you have in this case, I have a PH. I have a PH, platform equals XP, and audience equals admin. And if we go back to our Ditaval file, we see we have an attribute set for property attribute equals platform XP, platform XP, and we have audience equals admin. So now we've created a conflict. You can't have two things styled the same color. We have blue and purple. Which one should it be? Okay. So let's go back to the slide. Okay. So the style conflict element, there's one of them. It has a foreground, it has two attributes, foreground conflict color, which is the color with the font color of conflict areas, and background conflict color, which is the background, the highlighting of a conflict area. Okay, they're only going to be used if an element itself actually has conflicting attributes, and in this case we have XP and admin. So it changed the color it highlighted it in green, and it changed the font color to be red. It can't be both blue and purple. We made it red. It does apply the other attributes, though. It does a join of the other attributes that it took the underline from XP, and it took the italics from audience equals admin, and it also took our start flag and end flags. We have our admin start, admin end, and the deltas here are for were for the XP. Okay, you can. Whoops, sorry, too fast. When an element is flagged with one color, you can have nested flag. You can have an element flagged in one way, and then the parent and ancestor flagged a different way. So in this case, we have section rev equals 1, has one formatting style, and we have a note platform equals XP, and we have a simple table audience equals admin. So in this case, this is not considered a conflict. You will have the whole section be applied, and then each one of these will be applied their attributes on top of whatever revision is. So let's go see what that would look like. Okay, so we have the section became green. The revision turned it green with a red dotted change. We're using lots of colors tonight so that we can see what the different changes are. And the note got its own forming for XP, which was a blue, cyan background, then a purple with an underline, and the deltas. And admin had the admin start, admin end text, and it's blue italics. So it doesn't necessarily, it will just apply its own formatting on top of whatever the parent was. Okay. You can also add text or an image to set off the change that you made. You could do it at the beginning, you can have it at the beginning or at the end or both. So we have start flag and end flag, which are for images. The attribute is image ref. And you can also apply text, which is an alt text tag inside of it. The caveat is that you're responsible to provide the images. The DIT does not parse the Ditaval file to pull out any image references. So you would be responsible to provide, to make sure that that these images are copied into your output directory. In HTML, the images are going to be relative to the data map. In PDF, the images will be relative to the topic.fo file. So you have to make sure that you copy them to the correct places. Okay. XSL code for flagging an HTML output. In order to flag in HTML, there's code that's already built in to do it for you. You don't have to go and start and write it all again from yourself. It works out of the box. Okay. You could go and take a look at the code. It's in the DIT XSL XHTML. There's a special file there called flag.xsl. And for each of the pieces that we discussed is multiple lines of code for HTML. We had discussed the color. We had discussed an image at the beginning and an image at the end. Okay, and revision styling, which is slightly different. So each one of these is a line of code, and then it's a call template for each one. So if you're going to customize code, you would have to include each one of these if you want to maintain the flagging. So you have call template name equals gen style, which is generally one of the first templates right after you've created your elements. And that adds the color and the style, like we had the blue and we had the blue italics or the purple underline. Okay. And then you can add a start image or an and or the alt text. So that's called start flag it, which we'll put in the image. If you have an image, the alt text in HTML becomes the tooltip. If it doesn't, it will be put directly into your documents. Okay. And just pause. Okay. Okay. If you have a block content, so that would use an element called rev block, and that goes and actually puts out your block inside of a rev block. Block content is tables, paragraphs, code blocks. If it's an inline element like a PH, a code phrase, UI control, Untitled, then they use rev text. And if you want to, and that will does special processing to do the correct revision. If you have a revision, correct processing for it. And if you have an end image, then it's called end flag. You usually do at the end of your processing to put out the end flag and the alt text for it. Okay. XSL code for flagging in PDF. This ends up being a slightly easier process. It was originally created for a customer who needed flagging for their documents. I've taken it down from SourceForge. It's going to be hopefully in the next release of the Ditaval. It didn't make it into this past maintenance release 2. Hopefully we'll make it into the next one. You can contact me. My email's at the end of the slides if you want the flagging code for PDF with instructions for installation before then. Okay. In PDF, it's slightly easier. In the PDF output, we've added an extra step that pre-processes the files and puts in basically all the flagging information into the output steps, and then the topic to FO shell file will then go and implement it. So the elements that we've put in, okay, are called sweet style flagging inside. Those are for most elements that the XSL code was able to cache this element, and that defines the style information that's to the parent element that's within. So if you're going to create custom templates, you must call this one first before calling any other element. It must be matched first. You must call sweet style flagging inside and then do and apply templates to everybody else. Otherwise, you'll get an error in your XSL code. It's going to apply attributes to your parent. For elements that couldn't be done with, okay, we use something called flagging outside, which wraps an element in. It would wrap it in this element, which still has the flagging information in it, and it becomes a block around the child. Flagging inside just applies the styles to the element that's supposed to be flagged. Flagging outside creates a block around it. It's used for simple table DL and note for that reason that the Ditaval XSL code was being very specific on which elements it called, and it was easiest to wrap a flagging outside around it. For change bars, if you use the change bar attribute, so we've added sweet style change bar start, and it contains the style information. It says exactly where this change bar is going to start, and it has a matching sweet style change bar end, which says where the change bar ends. And these just become FO change bar begin and FO change bar end, two tags that are related to each other because of, we'll go into more in detail, of one attribute that they have, but they don't have to wrap around like normally you have. They don't have to nest properly like you have nested elements, so the start tag of one element must, the end tag that matches it must go after all of its children. You can't have overlapping tags. And these two can really go anywhere in your document as long as they have a matching attribute. They'll be paired together. So FO tags for change bars, which just started. FO change bar begin tells when a change bar should start, and FO change bar end is when a change bar ends. You can have change bars that overlap. They can intersect, they can union, they could be completely nowhere near each other if you can have more than one change bar in your document. So the attributes that it has is change bar class, which is a unique identifier for the change bar, and it must have a change bar end at the end. Okay, so you must have a matching change bar begin and a change bar end. Change bar color is the color of the change bar. Offset is how far away is it from the document content. Placement is in relation to the page and content. So you have a list of options here. And the style, you have also a list of styles. It's the list of options for table borders. And the width of the change bar. You can decide how wide a change bar will be. Okay. And now we're going to go on to implement track changing. Change bar. This is track changing is really only going to be mostly used for PDF output. There's no change bars in HTML. Usually, when you create change bars, you would test for draft output. If it's draft and you show change bars, that's generally what somebody would do. And you'd be able to do that by setting args.draft, or if you're using the Java command line, /draft:. So there's a few ways of doing this. You can start off with the regular way, the straightforward way, which would be section rev equals 1, and then set the status. Right, so we have a status attribute. New deleted change. If you want to use the flagging code that we showed earlier, using the Ditaval for a flagging code and add the change bars that way, we'd have to combine them into one rev attribute. It's just the rev attribute, because the flagging only tests for rev. It doesn't test for status. So in this case, I've changed it from being status equals new to rev1n, or rev1d for deleted, or rev1c for changed. A rev attribute can theoretically have more than one value in it, separated by spaces. You can say 1n space 2c, meaning that it's new in revision 1 and changed in revision 2. Okay. I'm going to go into now different ways, just two data editors that customers are using, Xmetal and Arbortext, about how those two editors have the capabilities of maintaining track changing in their programs, and we're going to discuss how they do it. Okay, Xmetal uses processing instructions. Processing instructions are nice in that an XML processor will basically just ignore them. They'll go through. You don't have to add them to the DTD. They'll just be passed along. And when somebody wants them, they'll catch them. So they use XM, saying for Xmetal -deletion_mark for something that's deleted. XM insertion mark start to know where something started being inserted, and insertion mark end where something ended. So in order to match a processing instruction, you don't just say the name of the processing instruction. You actually have to say processing instruction, and then in parentheses the name of the one that you want. It's not the same as matching an element. You have to match a specific processing instruction. If you leave out the name, if you leave out the apostrophe XM insertion mark underscore start, so that'll just pull in all processing instructions, which wouldn't be so helpful for you. Arbortext actually added their own tags that they wrapped around content to mark additions, changes, and deletions. They've added it to their DTD, so you have to make sure that it's available to you during the Ditto2 runtime. And in this case, you would just basically match your addition and deletion tags. They actually have quite a few. They have quite an extensive list of track changing markup, and you can find it at this URL. Okay. So we've discussed the main points for our discussion tonight. Okay. I just want to let you know about a utility that we developed. It's called the Ditaval Utility. It's available on our website. You browse to a map, and it shows you all the conditional attribute values for any data file that's referenced by your map. It does not, at this point, show you specialized attributes. it will show you can see at any particular conditional value where it's used, and you can choose which ones to show or hide, and then you can generate a Ditaval file from that chosen criteria. And good luck. Please stay in touch. Let us know how we can help you further. Have a great day.